Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us on our webinar today. I'm Tony and I'm Wide's Digital Marketing Trainer. So we'll just start off this session with a little bit more information about Wide Marketing in case you haven't dealt with us before. Now we're a full service email marketing agency specialising in email marketing, and we offer an enterprise level email marketing platform. Now our clients range from small businesses to large PLCs and everything in between. We offer managed services through an agency style setup for clients who want to outsource their email marketing strategies, as well as offering support and training to clients who would prefer to create email templates and campaigns themselves before sending them themselves. So whether you're looking for a bespoke template, do-it-yourself email sends, or full campaign strategy and implementation, we can support you to that success. Now, my own experience spans over 20 years, quite a way over now, during which time I've been involved with digital marketing projects ranging from small, highly targeted postcode-specific campaigns to full national and multinational integrated marketing strategies. I've worked across a number of B2B and B2C sectors. Love sharing what I've learned through that time. So that's what you need to know about us. We'll now move on to the reason you're here, and obviously the webinar. Now, we always have a broad spectrum of attendees at our webinars, and the purpose of this one is to highlight 5 ways that the retail industry can use real-time data to enhance the customer experience and take you ahead of your competition. So the webinar should run for about 30 minutes, and you can contact me directly after we finish if you've got any questions or if you want more of an in-depth conversation as well. As I've just mentioned in the chat, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have as we go through as well, using the control panel on the right hand side of the screen. So, consumers, they're more connected now than they've ever been. Mobile technologies blurred the lines between digital and offline experiences. IBM Data Insights noticed that 86% of consumers are using multiple channels to shop, and 90% of retail shoppers use their mobile phones while in store, which was a survey that Right Now and Harrison Interactive went through. So brick and mortar stores obviously still have their place on the high street, although the way that consumers are using them and interacting with them has changed a great deal over the recent years with that mobile adoption and obviously advances in technologies that are being used as well. Now, the more advanced retailers are exploiting all of that data that they're collecting. So whether that's historic data that they've got in the systems or whether it's real-time data, and they're using that to develop consumer-driven marketing strategies rather than just the age-old traditional strategies they were using themselves. So as I've just mentioned, the purpose of this webinar is to highlight the 5 ways that the retail industry can use that real-time data to enhance the customer experience and take you ahead of that competition. So here are the 5 ways that you can use the real-time data to increase the effectiveness of your retail operations, whether that's high street store, bricks and mortar, or whether it is e-commerce as well. So we've got evolving the in-store experience, receiving customer feedback, reducing shopping cart abandonment, increasing sales, and developing a multi-channel strategy. So we've got quite a bit to cover, so let's get started. As I said before, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have, and I'll try and pick them up as soon as I can as we go through. So, evolving the in-store experience. Now, Suzanne Kapner at the Wall Street Journal published a blog post in May of this year. Some of you may have seen it, and it covered what she calls the Amazon effect. So, to basically summarize a post, it was quite a long post. E-commerce is taking an increasing share of the retail market. It's probably things that you've already seen yourselves. Now, as a result, the high street stores are taking quite a hit on the amount of footfall that they're actually seeing coming through their doors and the reasons why people are coming through the doors. For a long time, retailers with physical brick and mortar stores only had to compete with each other in their local geographical locations as a general rule. E-commerce removes those geographical limitations. And as a result of the lower overheads as well, it means that lower prices can easily be offered, even including any delivery charges as well. There are actually even free options out there for the creation of e-commerce stores. It's well worth having a look at how many there are. A quick Google search will show you that. So basically all you need is stock, and then you can compete even with the largest of the high street retailers. The ability for a consumer to reach the research the purchase thoroughly well, um, even before they're even on the radar of retailers, means that that in-store experience has changed dramatically over the last few years. That includes shopping for conveniences even. You can even search for stockists of milk in your local area and the best prices now as well. So, as I say, if you want to find out who offers bottles of milk cheapest in your local area, you literally go onto one of any of the search engines and you'll be able to find that information out straight away. Now, consumers expect the same level of service, whether they're on your website, whether they're in your store, or if they're using a mobile app if you have one as well. They're quite used to browsing online and seeing multiple images, product reviews, and information about sizing if that applies to your products as well. But on a visit to the store, the high street store, that level of detail really, as a general rule, is nowhere to be found. So some of you will probably now be asking whether this is something that customers actually want when they're coming into the store physically. Well, according to Google, the answer is a resounding yes. They say that around 83% of consumers use the mobile phone while in store. As you saw earlier, right now Harrison Interactive found that figure to be about 90%. So these aren't stats to be taken lightly. These mobile users are what we call showrooming, which is an example there. They're actually looking for price comparisons, product information, and they're checking for reviews, all while they're actually stood physically in your store. So although a lot of retailers are actually getting upset about this and the new ways that people are using technology, there aren't many that have actually tried to embrace it and actually deal with it, believe it or not. So that brings us how we can start to evolve that in-store experience using this insight and real-time data. So here are a few strategies to get you started. So we've got in-store mobile devices, we've got training staff to use mobile technology, and we've got enabling customers to actually use their own devices in-store as well. So looking at each one in turn, so the in-store mobile devices. This strategy has been a big driver of sales for Clinique, as you can see on the example on screen there. They've actually rolled out a new skincare diagnostic system, believe it or not, that works on iPad, and that's across their department store makeup counters. You may have seen it in the likes of Boots and the department stores as well. They've got massive posters up outside if they're offering this in store, definitely. So basically it's there for and in any of the retail outlets where they're selling the product lines. And the basic idea of it is that customers work through a self-directed digital questionnaire, and it gives them details about the skin type and lifestyle, and then they receive a printout of products that are recommended specifically for them. Now, this strategy might also include large tablet devices that have been installed in store as well. Marks and Spencers and Debenhams are using those. Some stores are also using technology that allows customers to go into a shop, scan a barcode to find out all about that product, and then they can create their own personal wish list to actually shop at home later. So it's more a case of actually using the retail store now as a showroom rather than a sales operation, which is quite a big change in the way that some of the larger retailers are actually working. They appreciate that a lot of their customers are actually going to be going online anyway, so they're making the in-store experience in line with that. So it is even possible to check out within the apps rather than have to queue up to pay as well. So we've got a few examples of being able to do that. The first one, I don't know whether you've seen it, is Tesco Shop and Scan. So basically, you give them your club card details, you scan it under a little radar, and it gives you one of these handheld terminals. And you scan your shopping as you go, and you pack it straight into your bags in the trolley itself. The scanner will even track your spend as you shop, and it'll show you the promotions or if you're missing any promotions. When you're done, there's no need to unpack the shopping and go through the tills as per usual as well. All you need to do is just go to the scan as you shop payment area, scan the barcode at the top of the till. That then downloads the information off the handheld terminal. If you've got any sort of age restricted or restricted products, anything such as sharp objects that are under 16s can't buy, or any sort of pharmaceuticals or any alcohol, then a member of staff has to come in and sort of approve that sale. So there is a sort of quality check there. But if it's just your day-to-day shopping, it really is just as quick as sort of going in, getting your terminal, getting your shopping, throwing it in a bag in the trolley, and then paying on the way out. Tesco themselves basically said that they want to make it as easy as possible for customers to shop with us. Scan as you shop is already used by over 600,000 customers every week. Not only saves time at the checkout, it enables customers to track the spend as they go too. And they also said that this new trial will mean more customers than ever before can benefit from the service, and they can check out in a matter of seconds. So Tesco are already aware that they can actually save people time and effort and make that in-store experience so much easier and quicker for them. Just introducing handheld terminals, it's not, they've been using them for years to count stock and inventory, so it was just a natural progression for them to move on to it. So another example is Ralph Lauren and Rebecca Minkoff. So the two high street, high-end fashion retailers. They've already piloted interactive, or as they're calling them, smart fitting rooms in store. We've got an example on screen there of one of them. Tommy Hilfiger and Topshop they're starting to offer in-store virtual reality experiences as well. They have done in the past too. But the latest retailer to offer customers an in-store virtual reality experience in the form of a ride was Diesel. And they used that to mark the opening of its new flagship store in London as well. So as you can see, these technologies were something of sort of minority report going back to the famous Tom Cruise film with smart advertising as he walked through the shopping mall as it was. But these technologies are there and ready to be used in the high street stores right now. So that's the install mobile device section. We now look at training staff to use mobile technology. So obviously in store, your staff are your ambassadors and they do work really, really hard. They've got multiple jobs to do as part of the roles, and customers can sometimes be forgotten in the day-to-day firefighting of all that other work that they have to do. So if you can actually allow your staff to access stock levels and customer data from where they are in store at that point in time, you sort of get a double win. You've got happy staff, their lives a little bit easier, and that then passes on to the customers and they become more delighted and engaged in store as well. Their experience is much more comfortable for them. So mobile technology allows staff to use that real-time data to make better decisions when the customer is actually in front of them. An example of this is Burberry, who have introduced this into the flagship Regent Street store. Staff members can actually access customers' previous purchase history, and they can offer them bespoke product recommendations based on that as well, all from sort of handheld terminals, iPads and phones as they're walking around the store. So it's no longer a case of having to go back to a customer service stand or to the tills to find out. They can do it as and when they are there with that customer without having to drag them around. So this approach is often more successful when it links to the back-end staff systems as well. Now Aurora, they have brought this principle into Coast, Warehouse and Oasis, and they're now using iPads as mobile point of sale systems as well. They can actually take payments, make orders straight from the iPad. They have a little device that sort of fits onto the iPad to take those card payments. You may have seen it already. You'll definitely see it coming into sort of restaurants and sort of high-end restaurant chains as well. They're already starting to implement these iPads and mobile point of sale. It saves them again having to take cards away and all that messing around that we usually have to go through. So as I said, they're using it as mobile point of sale. They're also implementing apps for payroll and into-store stock transfer as well. So the mobile app side of things isn't there just for customers. They're actually creating mobile apps to help staff do their jobs as well. So hopefully it's something you may have noticed, but if not, you'll definitely be seeing it, as I say, over the next few months, potentially 12 months. So the third, we've got an example there of sort of Zara and enabling customers to use their own devices in store. So we now know that customers are going to be using their own devices when they visit our stores physically. How we make this easy for them to do and the approaches we use to support them will actually set us apart from the competition, whether that's in a good way or a bad one. So as I say, we've got, sorry, that's H&M, not Zara example. This is another scan and buy, similar to the Tesco setup. And this is trying to knit together the experience of the online and offline shopping world. So their question was, have you found an item at the store that is no longer available in your size or favourite colour? Use the scan and buy feature in the H&M mobile app to check if an item is available online and have it sent to your home. So again, it doesn't matter whether you're in the ladies section, men's section, kids or home. It's basically you scan a product that's similar to yours. It'll tell you where the inventory is. You can then choose that and in store actually order for delivery to store or delivery to your home. So again, they're using it for both purposes. It's not just a sales outlet now of their stores. They are sales and also advertising and showrooms for the products that people may then be going to purchase at home. Zara and Levi's are also doing similar things in their stores. In Zara stores, if a customer can't find a specific product, the salesperson can point an iPad's camera at a barcode of a similar item, and it uses the data and the real-time inventory that they've got there to see whether it is actually available in the store, in a nearby Zara store, or whether it's available online. Now, as I mentioned, Levi's are also using exact same technology in their stores to just enhance that customer experience as well. So again, it's not a case of somebody will go into Levi's, they can't find what they want, and then they'll go to a local department store because the product's there. Levi's are bridging that gap now and saying, if we don't physically have it in store, we will get hold of some and deliver it to your home or deliver it to your local store as well. So according to the Retail Gazette, the brands that are using technology to create opportunities and provide the optimum experience for customers are actually evolving with the consumer as well. Another use that we've seen just in the past few days, so I do apologise, I've not got a slide for this one, but is the trainline.com app. Now, strictly speaking, buying a train ticket isn't actually an in-store purchase, but in certain situations, the same theory does actually come into practice. So what happened was I was rushing to get a train last week. When I got to the ticket office, there was an absolutely massive queue, and it was one of those you were stood there thinking that I'm going to be here for at least 10 or 15 minutes. It was epic. I only had a few minutes to catch my train. Obviously, as usual case, you always leave it to the last minute when you leave the office. And there was no way on earth would I have been able to get through the barrier without a ticket, and obviously to get the train that I was due for. But using the Trainline app, within 2 minutes, I'd managed to download the app, which in all fairness was actually the longest part of this process. I then input my card details, chose my ticket, and then downloaded the ticket to the app. I did all of that while I was stood next to the ticket collector at the barrier. As soon as he saw that I'd activated the ticket, he let me through. So it saved me at least a good 10 minutes in that queue. And I had a valid ticket, and it was there on the app, and for the ticket collector on the train itself, it came with a QR code that he could actually use his machine to scan as well, just to say that he checked the ticket. So really, really strong example that, and I'm quite upset that I didn't catch it till we managed to create the presentation, but I'd love to included it. But if you could actually offer this as a service to your customers in store, especially if you're prone to getting quite large queues from time to time, or even at peak times through the year, you could actually potentially recover some of that lost business where people just give up and leave the shop or whatever. We've all pretty much, I would say, walked out of shops because of long queues, or we've put off a purchase till later and then maybe made that purchase somewhere else. So a recent report by Barclays actually found that 65% of shoppers are keen to see more touchscreen technology in store. What's more, 57% are more likely to visit a store which features virtual reality and smart fitting rooms if that's the industry that you're in. 52% are keen to visit a store with augmented reality. Now, there's an argument there to be made that that's quite a gimmicky thing, and that's why slightly over, half of the people surveyed would want to go to it. But the thing is, that gimmicky nature of augmented reality, as it is now until it becomes the mainstream, is another way of getting ahead of the competition and getting people into your store physically that wouldn't have necessarily visited any other way. So the in-store experience alone is obviously not going to be enough to be able to increase conversions, especially for those of you out there who are actually just pure e-commerce and you don't have a physical store for people to walk into. So now we move on to an area that is vital for continuous improvement of your customer experience, products and services, and that's obviously customer feedback. So the days of being able to just compete on price or quality of your product alone have gone. We're now in the era of customer experience. So the voices and opinions of consumers will now be heard. If it's not by you, definitely by everyone they know, and more than likely your competitors as well if they're on the ball. Now, consumers have pretty much unparalleled access to choices, including the alternatives to your business as well. And on the other side of that, they also have the ability to instantly amplify the power of the voice. So if you haven't already documented them, the customer experience is identified in customer journey maps. And as you'll see when you start creating those, the customer experience starts well before you actually become aware of them as customers. And as I say, because of this new way that people are researching products and companies well before they get towards coming to an e-commerce store or a physical high street store, this is really, really important that we know where people are actually coming into contact with us and our brand. So from the first time they hear your name or learn about the existence of your products to the first visit to your website, through the purchase decision and beyond the sale to contacting your company for support, that is all customer experience. So every single touch point on those customer journeys, from your packaging to how quickly you deal with queries, adds to it as well. And believe it or not, customers are actually willing to pay for a superior service, no matter what you actually think about that. If they didn't, Amazon would have reduced the retail industry to absolute ashes by now. That's not to say that Amazon offer poor service, but if the price was the only motivator for consumers, then in most cases they would only be shopping on that site, in all fairness. Right Now and Harris Interactive found that 86% of consumers will pay up to 25% more for a better customer experience. So actually it's quite a big figure, and it's quite a big amount of money that they'd actually pay more on some products. 25% of any product price is quite a bit. So, you know, for us to be able to offer that for them is definitely vital in standing out. Now, this is the reason why companies like Amazon haven't taken over the whole market yet. The things that set you apart from them as retailers is the service that you're going to be giving and the stories that you and your customers are telling each and every single day. Now, there's only one way you can find out how you stack up against your competition, and that's through asking for real-time feedback from your customers. Instead of guessing what your customers are thinking and then making assumptions that will cost you time and money, you collect real-time data at every touch point in their journey, as you've hopefully plotted through the customer journeys. A market researcher can't easily follow customers around 24 hours a day. It's a given. But their cell phones, their smartphones that they're very, very seldom more than sort of arm's reach away from, they can follow them around for 24 hours a day. That was some research from the Harvard Business Review. Now, real-time customer feedback comes from technology that is designed to give power back to the organisation, enabling you to ask questions or poll customers across any contact channel they choose. So that could be phone, it could be text, website, email, the handheld devices such as Tesco, kiosks, immediately following an interaction with a customer. That's the most important thing. You're not asking for feedback days, weeks, or even months after the event, after they've made that purchase, after they've been into your store, after they've been onto the e-commerce site. It's collecting the customer's immediate thoughts and not having them rely on their memories. Because again, sometimes if they have made a purchase, that post-purchase high can sort of taint things using the halo effect, basically. If they've already experienced something good, they're less likely to sort of give you the slightly more negative bits of feedback that will actually help you go forwards. In some cases, good feedback is not that helpful to you because it just means you're doing things right. What you really want to know is what you're not doing right, where you're getting things wrong. That's the important part with customer feedback. So feedback collected in real time, you can then use it to drill down to why and get a real-time view of how your customers feel they're doing at that point in time. So this approach can also assist with the recovery of dissatisfied customers within minutes to support your business's customer retention strategies as well. So the ability to deploy this technology across a number of different customer contact channels ensures that you can ask for feedback on a channel that best suits the customer. So again, we'll try to make it the best experience for them, and that then increases the likelihood of them actually responding and giving us the feedback, the all-important feedback that we need. And as I say, there's nothing to be scared of if you do get bad feedback. They're just opportunities then to improve. It can be a little bit of a dicey thing for some companies, worrying about, oh, what happens if something comes back that's bad. But they're the things you can learn from, not the good feedback, unfortunately. Now, there are plenty of tools out there to help you generate and analyze customer feedback and to then implement it into your business. It's not something we've got anywhere near enough time to go through in the webinar itself, but a quick search on any of your favorite search engines for real-time customer feedback tools will give you millions. I just ran a quick one through on Google just shortly before the webinar started, and it gave me over 63 million results. So there's plenty there to choose from. Now, the main thing to remember is that every retail business, no matter whether you're purely e-commerce or purely high street based, is that real-time customer feedback can help you create a better customer experience, which will then set you apart from your competition. All you have to do is ask the questions at the right moment of truth and ensure that you use the real-time data to optimize your approaches in real time. So here's an example. Waitrose. They've signed a deal with research firms CRT and Toshiba to roll out kiosks located close to tills in all of its smaller format stores. It invites customers to complete a touchscreen survey after completing the shopping. So a fairly straightforward sort of process. But the data, which will be collected by Toshiba's kiosk system, will be collected in stores and analysed using some extra technology that CRT are offering. This data, based on a survey of just 4 questions. Again, we're reducing the amount of friction here. It's not a case of asking hundreds of questions to try and learn everything from that customer. What we can do is ask 3 or 4 straightforward questions. We're not taking much time out of the day. They're much more likely to then give us feedback rather than just completely ignore it. So it's 4 questions, and it'll then be fed back to store managers literally in real time. So there's nowhere to hide for them. That feedback gets plugged straight through to them. So Waitrose Service Innovation Manager Richard Quarterman said that as the survey is quick and easy to use, we've significantly increased the number of customers responding to us. As it provides real-time feedback, we can start to track customer responses across different times of the day and days of the week, giving our operational management teams valuable insight into store performance within a clear frame of reference. So again, it might not be an example that you've seen physically yet. It will be coming through to a lot of the main stores, though. You can guarantee that if one's started and they're getting benefits from it, the rest will follow as well. But you'll also see these sorts of things in places like IKEA and a lot of the airports as well. Heathrow Airport, Manchester Airport in particular, are also using in-store real-time customer feedback technology as well. So we'll now move on to discuss your websites and e-commerce stores and how you can reduce the shopping cart abandonment. Social media today found that 96% of people visiting your site aren't actually ready to purchase from you, which is quite a frightening statistic. So that means basically the business coming through your site on a first visit is only 4% of what you could actually be making. I'm not sure whether you've analysed your web analytics and whether you've found the bounce rates to be quite so high, but it could be a case that we're not making the most of every opportunity out there. So as I say, this might not be the case for every retail site, but other experts have quoted average figures of between 70% and 96% that social media today found. So the figures are still very, very high. It also means that you have to expect cart abandonment. It's something that's built into the way that we're actually retailing online. It also means that the vast majority of people visiting your site or e-commerce store are actually not there to buy in the first place anyway. They're doing the equivalent, I suppose, of showrooming, as we found out in the high street stores. So there's a common obstacle here. Companies are struggling to overcome it, and yet again, they're kind of struggling to find out how to do it. We can use real-time data to reduce abandonment rate. If we could knock even maybe 5 to 10% off that figure there, the returns could be absolutely huge. So I suppose the argument would be, how much money do you make at the moment from the 4% of people who are visiting your site ready to buy? Do you want to convert some of the people who are naturally going to abandon the carts? Absolutely. Now, the 5 main reasons why people abandon the carts, they actually fall into 2 specific areas of concern. So the first is shipping and handling costs were too high. So obviously that's a cost situation. Not ready to buy. I wasn't ready to purchase the product. So that's our second reason really, cost and not ready to buy. wanted to compare prices on other sites. So that's prices and also the fact they're not ready to buy. If they were, they would already have made the purchase rather than comparing prices. Product price was higher than I was willing to pay. So again, that comes down to cost. And I just wanted to save items in my cart for later consideration, so not ready to buy again. Now, according to eConsultancy, nearly half, or 44, just over %, of all cart abandoned emails are actually opened. I'm not sure whether it's the strategy you're using yet. More than 1/10 of cart abandonment emails are actually clicked, and nearly 1/3 of them, when they're clicked, actually lead to a purchase back on site. So as you may have seen from these stats, although 3 of the main reasons why people abandon the carts is because they're not ready to buy, if you even just consider communicating with them by email in real time, you can actually rescue some of those potentially lost sales. You can't honestly say that everyone who abandons on your site will come back to buy. So this leads us to using real-time data about abandoned cart and abandoned browser activity to reduce abandonment rates. And here are 3 strategies that will allow you to do it. So triggered emails. So this is the original way that companies started to re-engage with people who had abandoned carts. You'll have seen it from Amazon as well. We've got an example from Fatface UK on screen. The triggers weren't always based on real-time data. They usually had a delay while the systems that weren't integrated had to catch up with each other. And marketers were having to do this manually as well. Marketing platforms are now available that allow you to track a user's behaviour on your website in actual real time. They integrate with your email marketing platform as a general rule. Sometimes they're there as an add-on product from your email service provider. Basically, you can set up a triggered email which contains dynamic content that is sent as soon as the person abandons the cart, or at a time that you've chosen as the most optimal time to send it based on looking at your own users and testing of timescales and that sort of thing. Some companies trigger within 5 or 10 minutes, some up to about 24 hours, but you'll know yourself as to where that figure lies. Nothing over 24 hours though, it's not abandoned, then it's been well and truly left behind. So this is all well and good if you've already got that user's email address and that they're logged in, or at the very least if you have a unique ID cookie on site to identify them. That's how Amazon works with their abandoned cart and browser activity. You may have seen that this strategy is not an option if you don't have that data available. So if it's a new visitor to your site, they've not been before, or if your systems aren't integrated, you won't be able to tell who's who and what's what. In that situation, you're not completely out in the wilds, though. You're not lost. We can use the following strategies to make use of real-time activity of visitors to our site. So intent to leave. So first of all, we'll look at a visitor's intent to leave. It's likely that you'll have come across this technique already without actually noticing it. The theory is that website users show certain traits when they're about to leave a page on the internet. In most cases, there's a period where the user is looking at the content of the page. The mouse cursor and keyboard clicks are non-existent pretty much. At very least, they're quite limited during that process. We're all creatures of habit. We don't usually do more than one thing at once when we're looking at a website, to be fair. Now, when we've seen what we need to see, we either move towards a call to action button. So this could be a next page, buy now, a navigation link. Or we move to the top of the screen to search again in the browser bar, to click the back button, or to click to X off that page. Now it's now possible to insert code into your website that looks for these behaviours. It's quite technical, so not something that a website owner needs to know how to code. Just be aware that it is available. But being able to automatically notice these behaviours on your web pages with every individual customer is an absolute godsend in helping to reduce shopping cart abandonment. The moment that the code notices that someone looks like they're about to leave, you can have it show a pop-up message as we've got on the screen, or when they click on the X button, it can show a message to prompt them to say. So does it look familiar? Have you sort of seen these on websites before? Hopefully that is the case. So in this instance, most companies use these messages to give a time-limited special offer or promotion just for staying on the page. The problem with offering discounts of any kind, though, especially when you're looking at using abandoned carts or abandoned browser data, is that you can quite easily train your customers to get in this every single time. If they know that every time they go onto a page, then come off it, you'll offer them an X amount of discount, they will do it every time. You're never going to sell anything at full price. You might have noticed this with Amazon. They no longer offer those big discounts if you put something in your basket and leave the site. It was well documented they were doing that, and it was even used by a leading UK bank to advertise their digital skills training. Excuse me. So this particular bank actually mentioned on a TV advert that Amazon did this each and every time. So why would a user buy the products on the first visit if they knew that if they left the site with the products in the cart, they'd get a discount on them shortly after leaving? If you don't want to get into this situation, then you could consider highlighting the benefit to why that visitor should be purchasing your products. Highlight your unique value proposition, or highlight some testimonials instead. It may not be as hard a sale, but it may still trigger a few people to stay to complete the purchase. Ultimately, the decision on how you approach this is up to whether you're happy giving discounts to rescue a few sales in real time, or whether your reputation and brand's strong enough to convert the sales by just reinforcing the facts. The next strategy that you can approach in real time is to prompt the user to buy before they consider leaving your site. And again, this is using timed popovers or pop-ups. We're still using real-time data here. We're making use of the fact that someone's still engaged on your website. It works in a similar way to the intent to leave behavior tracking. You insert a little bit of code into your website that produces a pop-up message at a given point in time after the visitor enters your site. There's quite a bit of contention in the digital marketing industry about pop-up messages and what they can bring to the table. So I'll try and give you both sides of the story and let you decide. So the pros: you can analyse the average time that a user stays on your web pages. Based on that, you can ensure that a pop-up message appears to them before they consider leaving on average. This could be, as I mentioned before, a discount, highlighting your value proposition, or showing a customer testimonial. If you can re-engage the visitor before they consider leaving, it may make it a more personal experience for them on your site, with what in essence is real-time communication, albeit through a pop-up message. The more personal you can make the experience, the greater the chance that the user will enjoy the shopping experience, and that will prompt them to buy rather than leave. That is the main pro to using popovers. You can lead the visitor to purchase to a certain degree, but the cons: as with the pros, there's only one real consideration. You may have noticed this yourself when visiting certain sites. They get in the way to pop-ups, and they're very intrusive. If you don't use them wisely, you could drive more people to leave your site. So just imagine if your visitor was looking for the card details to make a purchase, and then all of a sudden you flash up a message that they then have to cross off so that it can actually give you the money. So it's not ideal. This is the real danger of using pop-ups. A lot of people see them as intrusive adverts, similar, I suppose, to going into a shop and a salesperson running straight up to you and asking if they can help. It always sort of builds up that wall in the mind of your customer, so you need to use them sparingly. So reducing your abandonment rate is important for making the most of every opportunity with potential customers, but that only makes up a small part of your business. So we'll now move on to how real-time data can be used to increase sales and revenue. So traditional marketing tools like adverts and word of mouth make it difficult to compete with the high-end competition between companies. The reason behind the weakening of traditional advertising is the advanced digital marketing that's enabled companies to gather real-time data and actually make changes to their advertising techniques relatively quickly. Ultimately, this is why we're all in business. It's all well and good looking at new technologies and strategies, but they have to increase the sales. If they don't, they're just projects that are a bit of fun and not much more than that. So how do you use real-time data to actually increase sales and revenue? Well, let me give you some examples of how companies are doing just that. So this year, has seen the launch of iBeacons in iOS 7, which allows retailers to target customers based on their locations in space and time. Combined with a massive explosion in smartphone usage in the UK, it's probably time for beacon technology's potential to actually be realised. Smartphone use could include scanning product barcodes and seeing reviews and styling suggestions while they're showrooming in store. Large stores could offer navigation guides to show customers where to find the products they've already selected at home. Mobile in-store could also offer geolocation-based promotions like discounts for regular customers or first-time store visitors as well. Lowe's is already using HoloLens to showcase design fittings, so kitchens in a showroom. That's similar to the way that Lowe's and IKEA have used tablets for augmented reality, allowing customers to superimpose images of furniture in their own homes as well. So Luxury brands, they're turning to in-store technology to boost the fashion retail. So data collecting displays and smartphone signals are actually helping Parisian outlets track what tempts customers. Although this isn't UK based yet, UK retailers with high street stores can get ahead of the competition using this particular strategy. So imagine a lady walks past a Louis Vuitton store, smartphone frequency detectors identify her as she passes the brand's displays. So Parisian Grand Magasin and flagship stores on the Champs-Élysées have been testing smartphone frequency detectors and the connected merchandising displays to actually experiment with collecting data from shoppers as soon as they approach the retail store. Much like online retailers have for years used cookies planted in web browsers. A lot of brands want to break down the barriers between the digital and physical presence, according to Clemence Dehaene, who's the co-founder of Retail and Digital 2. They're integrating motion sensors, screens, and other high-tech elements in luxury retail displays. So here's the Louis Vuitton store. The leader in luxury leather goods recently used the technology to track all the people who passed the window display at one of the Paris's department stores. They were quite wary, naturally, as it could be perceived by some shoppers as intruding on the privacy. Nonetheless, the insights they gained are actually extremely valuable in finding out what's working and what isn't, even just based on their physical displays. The smartphone frequency detectors enabled the brand to estimate the proportion of people who entered the department store after seeing the display, as well as how many ended up making a purchase from their brand's point of sale. So quite an intuitive and quite innovative use of that technology. One a little nearer home is John Lewis. They've also experimented with large interactive screens, as you can see there, displaying product information, as well as implementing augmented reality in the window displays. They're also looking into radio frequency identification, similar to Louis Vuitton, and also technology from a lot of startups to support its click and collect service as well. So another nice use there in the UK. Another type of data we can use is maybe not something that's really been considered by retailers yet. But as you can see there, it's an example of Facebook and nearby friends. Social media platforms mean this more from a social point of view when offering people using their apps. Things like Nearby Friends, Foursquare have a proximity app called Swarm, and it allows you to connect with your friends when they're near to you. The social element of a user's location could actually be something that could be used by retailers going forward and used in the retail space. There's no examples of it yet, in all fairness, but it might be worth something considering from your side. Basically, if this is turned on in the app, that user's location is being constantly shared. So if there's a way of being able to cross that divide between sort of being friends and connections and businesses, there's definitely benefits to be made there. And Argos use real-time inventory data to help them persuade customers to purchase. So they do that by allowing contacts online to enter the postcode. They then find the store closest to them, which has the product available to collect, and it tells you, as you can see, whether the product's available and how soon, if it's a home delivery. Those customers also receive automatic text when the product's ready to collect as well. So with auto stock updates, you could actually close the loop on stock levels, and it allows you to say goodbye to sort of manual updating as well. You could also save countless hours a week by eliminating the need to manually update your stock levels back to Magento, Amazon, or whatever alternative you're using on that sort of periodic basis. So all of the points that we've covered so far treat real-time data in their own individual silos. So the most successful retailers are actually working a little bit smarter than that. They're using real-time data insights and collection to support the decision making across all of the marketing channels. So let's see how you can use this yourselves. So whether you're looking to use real-time data in email, online, social media, PR, advertising, or in-store, the areas that we've covered during the webinar are only a selection of those available out there for you to optimize customer engagement. Here are a few other areas to consider which are starting to become trends, will definitely impact you over the next 12 months one way or another. The first one we've mentioned to a degree, so it's virtual reality or augmented reality. So retailers like Topshop and Burberry know that their young, fashionable clientele are highly digitally savvy. They're using cutting-edge technologies to provide the kind of slick digital experience that their customers are enjoying. Topshop has already experimented with using Oculus Rift VR headsets to give its customers the experience of having a front row seat at its London Fashion Week catwalk show, while Burberry and Shiseido both use augmented reality to show how people would look wearing their beauty products. Believe it or not, there is a retailer out there at this point in time advertising VR headsets for less than £10 a piece. They're not quite at the top level of maybe Oculus Rift, but if you wanted to experiment with them on a very, very low cost basis in store, it's definitely something you can get your hands on out there. So if you do want to know, obviously I'm not going to mention their name or products in the webinar. If you do want to find out though, send me a message after and I'll let you know where you can get those. So VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality. The next is beacons. Now, almost certainly the next big thing in the in-store technology is going to be beacons, enabling stores to identify individual shoppers who have installed the Stores app on their smartphone. They can then propose personalised offers and discounts to that shopper as they're browsing, based on the data they've already have about that customer's preferences and previous purchases. The beacons are already being trialled in the UK by Tesco, Waitrose and Odeon, amongst many others. The airports are also using it in duty frees as well, so they're using quite similar technology, but they're looking for customers who have Wi-Fi and or Bluetooth turned on their smartphones, and then they're pushing the messages through to them on that basis as well. So rather than a beacon and an app connection, the airports are actually using it for their sort of upload connections. The next is smart mirrors. So retailers like Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus are experimenting with smart mirrors in dressing rooms. Depending on the technology used, these can allow virtual trying on of clothes, as you can see in the example on screen there. They can propose accessories to match an outfit, enable shoppers to upload photos of them wearing the new outfit to social media, and they support electronic ordering straight from the dressing room. Smart mirrors can also be a useful new source of data about shoppers' habits and preferences as well. We're not far from those heavily personalised advertising billboards that you may have seen in the film Minority Report that I mentioned before. And if not, do a quick YouTube search and it looks very, very similar, does that product, to the smart mirror in this example here. So next is connected operations. So technology is also being used in indirect ways to transform the in-store experience. Smart retailers using mobile apps and in-store Wi-Fi to keep store staff connected to key systems and data so they can work more efficiently, spend more time with the customers and access the information they need to deliver the best possible customer service. So from augmented reality mirrors to keeping your employees connected, there are hundreds of exciting new technology-driven ways to transform the in-store experience and keep your customers loyal for longer. So that's the end of the webinar. I hope that you found it helpful and that you can now see how real-time data can be used to increase your return on investment. You may now be full of ideas or questions how to get started as well, all being well. So does anyone have any questions that you've not managed to ask yet about real-time data and the ways that you can implement it into your overall marketing strategy? Or have you got any comments that you'd like to make, any examples to share? Please feel free to do so in the chat. No, that's super. Well, our contact details are on screen. Or they will be shortly, sorry. Our contact details are on screen, so if you want to see how Wired Marketing can help you achieve email marketing success, or if you've got any questions about today's webinar, or if you just want to have a chat about what you're doing with your campaigns at the moment, please feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining me today. And finally, Wired Marketing and I would like to thank you for attending the webinar. We wish you every success with your marketing in the future. Thank you. Goodbye.